Celine Dion is the latest celeb to haul her collaborations with R. Kelly off of music streaming services. And this follows the mounting backlash against Kelly after the release of the damning documentary exploring decades of alleged sexual and physical abuse involving him.
For more on this, we are joined now by Dalton Higgins, journalist and PR strategist, and Natasha Koifman, founder and president of NKPR. So good to have you both here. This is something we all need to talk about. It's such a tough documentary series to watch, but many people have, and thank goodness for that. Will this change anything? There's a lot of conversations to have. Why is it that we have such a hard time as a culture and society separating the art from the artist, or the act from the artist, alleged act?
I mean, I think a big part of it is we do disassociate. Like, even if he goes to jail, people are still listening to his music. They don't make that same connection. And I think part of that is they want him to succeed in a lot of ways. And I think we have short memory loss. Like, we talked about that earlier, right?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a whole ecosystem and infrastructure that will continue to support R. Kelly. Promoters, he's been doing shows since 2002 when we saw that repulsive video. Him urinating on young girls, record companies, promoters, the streaming services. We know that Spotify, his streams have gone up, so until Spotify says we're no longer streaming R. Kelly, record companies say we were no longer messing with R. Kelly, I think people are still going to consume R. Kelly. Well,
the record companies are now considering to actually not let him go into the studio anymore, and he won't be able to record music. That will actually hurt him. Right? Like, that has to happen. Otherwise, like, public opinion, does he really care? People are still buying his music. The rest of it, does it really matter?
Is it a financial dilemma for these record companies? I know that they make a lot of money off them, and also he's never been convicted, right?
He was acquitted from the child pornography charges back in the early 2000s. Even though there was that video, he said it wasn't him on the tape, and then they had a tough time IDing the witness. They don't know whether it was hush money that silenced the family or what it was.
So are companies fearful of lawsuits if they cut him off?
They are. I think he will go to jail, but I don't think that will change anything in respect to his music. Like, he'll be making money while he's in jail, and that's unfortunate.
Well, let's talk about that PR machine. Like we just said, this is not only 20 years old, it is going strong to this day. When you watch the series, there are women today who are in their early 20s who are being held in what it's called a cult house. So yes, they could physically leave on their own will, but mentally they are trapped. It is this mental game that he plays. It is a form of control, and he has been a master at controlling his reputation. While all of these charges were coming out against him, he was releasing religious anthems where people would sing it at church or at their weddings. I Believe I Can Fly, or Step in the Name of Love. So people don't want that tarnished, that memory of their wedding, that memory of feeling elated in church. Why is that happening, even though we see all of this evidence and we hear all these accounts? Some people are saying, is it because it's young black women? Would this be a different outcome if it was Caucasian women? What do you think?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, we have to make a clear line of distinction. There's the courts of law, So, again, R. Kelly was acquitted, in the early 2000s of child porn charges. On the other hand, the court of public opinion is saying something radically different, right? So we always have to kind of look at those two, you know what I mean? The court of public opinion, court of law, saying two completely different things. Also, what I would say is that R. Kelly, when we look at, the Aaliyah situation, or we look at just music culture, pop culture in general, I mean, there's something to be said about the culture that, we reference Woody Allen, he's still in studios making films, despite having married somebody considered his daughter. We look at, the king of rock and roll, the so-called king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. He was messing around with Priscilla Presley when she was like 14 years old. So there's this whole, the laundry list of, celebrities. Yeah, I'm feeling very jaded and very cynical about the whole thing.
Times have changed, though, because Bill Cosby is in jail. So if you think about it, it was a hung jury just a few years back, but he is in jail now because of the Me Too movement. So I think that our voices carry now more than ever before. So mute R. Kelly and that hashtag and that movement that is happening, it just means that we do have an opportunity as individuals to make our voice matter. And it is a different time. That is important to kind of, I think, acknowledge.
Is this one of those points where there's no more passes now? Previous musicians, they would get these passes. You talk about Elvis and that, but now, no, this starts to break. Things like this, you're not getting it happened back then, it was different or whatever. That's done.
I think it depends on how they value success. Like, you look at Weinstein. He probably will not go to jail, But he won't be able to produce movies anymore. So that will really hurt him. But he still has all his money. So he's still super successful if that's what he deems as success. So I think we need to look at, with celebrities, what hurts them the most. And it might not be the fact, with R. Kelly, might be going to jail, and so that will really hurt him. But he's still making tons of money. So depends where he puts his value.
Yeah, and also, too, I mean, the apologies, like when you hear these sort of very weak plastic, you know, like they seem so insincere, they seem so disingenuous, right? So I think there's something to be said. Like, you know, they're not doing the work. Like, you have to do, you know, do PSAs. Like, if you're totally opposed to child porn, sexual abuse, record PSAs, you know, donate money out of your own pocket,
well,
right?
Like, you have to apologize. That's
you
the
have
thing.
to apologize. You have to own it, and that's just not happening.
Yourself. Watch this series, as difficult as it is, if you're old enough to take in this information, because that's the only way you can make an informed opinion. We were all guilty of it, of forgetting about it, and then Gaga, self-proclaimed feminist, worked with him. So did Celine. Now they're stepping away after seeing and hearing all these accounts. It's finally landing. And I think the Time's Up Me Too movement is certainly helping with that. So like you said, hopefully this helps us reevaluate going forward.
You hope so. Yeah, you would hope so.
Yeah, well, it's only because, I mean, Lady Gaga, too, she had defended R. Kelly, right? So we don't want to do this revisionist history. It's only after getting dragged on social media that she recently said, okay, you know, I want nothing to do with the guy. But, you know, a lot of his collaborators, his A-list collaborators, it took far too long, in my humble opinion, for them to, you know, to make statements, public statements, and disassociate themselves from R. Kelly.
We failed these girls, and we have to do better as a society. Thank you so much for taking the time today. Important conversations to have. Right now, we're going to throw things over to Stella.